Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master Dave, and with me, as always, is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
Well, folks, another week down of Clone Wars, and getting back into our sort of recap. So we've got Episode 8 together again, marching towards the end. Not too much left.
Who was finally together again?
You know, honestly, that's a good question.
Because they started off the episode together, and I won't get into spoilers, but I mean, I don't know. I don't see who was reunited in this episode.
Yeah, you're kind of right. I guess I didn't really think about it all that much, but the title. I don't know. Yeah, the title doesn't really seem to collate with much, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, because most of them have been pretty on point. Obviously, the last episode with Dangerous Debt and all that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
This one just kind of made no sense. Kind of like this episode in general, but I don't want to be too negative.
Yeah, no, I get that. And we had some conversation beforehand, and we'll try and recreate a little bit of that in this episode. But I guess we'll start as we always do. How's the week been going for you?
Not too bad. Finally back to a normal schedule at work. Got to enjoy Good Friday off. Stayed home and played a little bit more.
Who takes that off?
It was paid.
I've
take a vacation day.
I've never had that paid off from anywhere I've
honestly worked. I don't really know why I had it off. And honestly, quarantine or not, I feel like it. I don't know. It just wasn't all that satisfying to have that day off.
Well, I mean, even when I was in school, I don't remember us taking off. But like some of my teacher friends are like, "Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's probably I don't know if they do that every year. I guess, but I know that they had it off this year. But I can only imagine that it might have been more.
Of course, they're gonna,
more due to what's going on. I mean, a lot of the friends I have are actually doing like virtual lessons. So kids are technically in school, but they're just doing it virtually now. But I remember talking to my one buddy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you off Friday?" I was like, "No, I've never had a Good Friday off. I literally I can't remember ever having a Good Friday off." And it's like, "Oh yeah, we have like one meeting, but then we have it off." And I didn't even remember it was Easter this weekend. Like I didn't even think about it.
It snuck up quick.
Yeah,
it really did.
No, it's.
I think I realized maybe Wednesday that was Easter. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess we should do something about that.
Didn't even think about it. I mean, I was out in the store. When did I go to the store? Anyway, at some point in the last week, I went to the store, and I saw the Easter candy out, and I got some of those the little tiny mini hard Cadbury eggs that are kind of like just giant M&Ms.
Yep.
So I got some of those.
Can't go wrong with those.
I don't really. I used to really enjoy the Cadbury eggs, like the cream or caramel filled. Anymore, I don't really care for them as much.
Really.
So, but I do like the little tiny hard shell chocolate eggs. But yeah, I did see the candy out, and I was looking at all the giant rabbits and everything, and I just didn't even click that it was like now.
Well, and why would it? Because they put Easter stuff out, 2 months ahead of time.
Yeah, that's true.
Can't even really go by that. No, I didn't really get any of the candy this year. Didn't get any Peeps. Didn't get any.
Peeps are gross.
They are. They really are. I don't know why people like Peeps. They're fun to microwave. That's about it.
I know some people that do. I think that they're gross.
I'm not a marshmallow fan though, so to me,
yeah.
It's just I don't like the texture.
No. I mean, I'll get some marshmallows and make Rice Krispie treats, but that's a different beast right there.
I feel we probably lost half our audience.
Maybe. I mean, there's some people that are definitely serious about the candy. Heck, I've seen like sour Peeps and They even make them in bunny form from time to time. And
Really?
yeah. I don't, I'm trying to think. There's another one that has like a different name that's like the same I don't know. I'm not much of a candy eater in general. I remember when we were kids, you were all about, biting off bunny ears, and grandma got you the giant, just the one rabbit that was a little tiny rabbit body, but giant ears.
Yeah. And that's all I would eat.
If we even ate them. We didn't really even eat them. Sometimes they just sit there forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to think, when's the last time do you think you've had one of those? 'Cause for me, it's probably been at least a decade, probably. I would say, but probably more than that.
Yeah, probably. Again, it's just not much of a candy person. And if I do, I'll get a thing of like Oreos or, I don't know, a Hershey bar with almonds or something, or
like
some dark chocolate
or something.
Oh God, what's the matter with you? Three Musketeers, like of all the candy.
I like Three Musketeers.
That's the one. I always confuse it with Milky Way, but that's the one with like the real fluffy stuff in it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Goodness.
Milky Way suck. I don't like Milky Ways.
But aren't they like the same thing?
No.
No.
No, because the Milky Ways are a little crunchy, almost like a Kit Kat.
Really?
And they're a little crunchy. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I can't tell you the last time I've had a Milky
I
Way.
thought that they had I thought a Milky Way had fluff and caramel, and then the Three Musketeers was just fluff.
But I think but I think the outside of a Milky Way is a little crunchy, and then it's just got that fluff filling. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I never really cared for either one of them personally.
Clearly, we are not the people to ask about candy.
Well, no, I always used to love Butterfinger. They changed the recipe here recently, and the first time I tried one, I was like, oh, this is really good. And then I tried it again another time. I was like, oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, pretty much all the stuff that we grew up with, the recipes changed. Jones chips, barbecue chips, and all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, that in Ohio, coming out of Mansfield, Ohio, they still are around, but Jones potato chips, and they made the best salt and vinegar chips. I know you like the barbecue, but these were like salt and
vinegar on point. They were good.
They were the kind that like you have to like vinegar though, because if you don't, they're very
they'll
tart.
Take your breath away.
Yes.
Yeah.
But see, I love that, and I always thought that they were great, but when everything kind of changed with like cooking oils and like trying to, for a little bit more healthier drive, this has been some time ago when they changed up their oil, it just changed the entire composition of the chip, and it's just not the same. So
see, for me, I've gotten a few different brands of salt and vinegar lately, probably in the last like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if my tastes have just changed or if, like you said, something new with the recipes, but to me, every single one I've gotten just burns. I don't know what it is. Maybe I got a sore that I don't realize somewhere hidden in my mouth, but it just burns.
Well, I'll tell you, the only one that I've found that I actually enjoy is Meyer brand kettle salt and vinegar. Those are the best ones out there right now. The only problem is like I kind of wish they were just ridged chips. But
I like ridge style too. I've never been a fan of the softer Lay's style chip or
but these
generic kettles.
But these are actually, they're nice and crunchy. They have a lot of vinegar to them. I think they're about as good. They also have a buffalo chicken dip chip that's also really good too.
Ooh.
So that the Myers chips are actually fairly decent. But yeah, this isn't really a food podcast. It's supposed to be a Star Wars podcast. Where's the Star Wars?
Well, what do you do while you're watching Star Wars? That's right. So you just sit down and shut up, people. Just listen.
Oh, goodness. But yeah, okay. So I guess we can go ahead and get on into the episode. Again, episode 8. Together again. And you know what? I'm actually going to sidetrack the conversation here just a little bit because we've largely been doing, obviously, the show, but there has been some Star Wars news stuff out there too. So just 2 real big pieces here. We already kind of talked about one of them, but I want to kind of reiterate a bit. So Mandalorian season 2 is set to drop later in the year. If everything holds, it could be pushed back. We'll see. They're obviously, and I don't really think I think confirmed is a bit strong still, but we've had a lot of very creditable sites talk about having Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, live action Ahsoka, and then also having a live action Rex as well. Mm-hmm. So let's just ponder a little bit here about a live action Rex and a live action Ahsoka. And there's also some thoughts out there that there could just be like an actual like live action Ahsoka show. So let's
okay.
Yeah.
Haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I'm just saying, because I think part of what people are starting to speculate about is if you have live action Ahsoka, who is a mega character right now in The Mandalorian, and you don't necessarily want to take over The Mandalorian. So what if you created a show, just a show around her? And then, there's again also, sort of the whole, well, hey, we could bring Rex into the live action thing. So let me first start by asking you this. Do we actually need live action of some of these cartoon characters?
I love Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. I really do. I think she's a great character. I think she's probably one of the best things about Clone Wars, but we had how many seasons with her already on top of Rebels, on top of Mandalorian, what we get with her, do we really need more? And
well, do we need her?
There's a lot.
The real question is, do we need her at all in live action?
Personally, I prefer her just being in Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. That's just my thing, because I never really enjoy live action adaptations of animated characters, because there's just something about an animated character that you can never get right on the big screen. Usually the voice actor is not the same. Personality traits, little inflections with the way they talk. There's just always something missing. So I have a bit of a fundamental issue with doing a lot with Ahsoka live action.
Okay.
It'd be cool to have a little something with Mandalorian and then get out of there, because again, it's about Mandalorian. It's not about all these other characters who are established. One thing that I always appreciate about Mandalorian is how it feels like it's almost disconnected from the Star Wars universe a lot. You don't have a lot of cameos. It's almost one of those things that a non-Star Wars fan could jump in and just, hate the rest of Star Wars, but enjoy Mandalorian and not have everything else shoved down your throat. So, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on an entire series for live action Ahsoka. But I would have to see a trailer and, see the premise, what the story's about. How do you feel about it?
I think that that's fair. Mandalorian suffers from what is kind of called Baby Yoda syndrome, where you're supposed to have this whole centric thing over Mandalorians, but the only thing people were really talking about was Baby Yoda. So then let's take a giant character from other lore and say, let's smack it into this show. And then, oh, well, screw it. Then I think that you're actually kind of starting to get to the point where you could be axing the series. So let's talk about timeline real quick here. We obviously know where Clone Wars lies. Episode 1, 2, in between 2 and 3 is Clone Wars. And then, just from a general timeline perspective, we have, the Obi-Wan series, slated, going along the same time as Solo. Then we have Rebels, and then like Cassian Andor series. So at this point, we know Ahsoka was in Rebels and is now, quote, missing, right? At the end of Rebels.
Yeah.
The, quote, end of Rebels. And then we go into Rogue One, New Hope, Strikes Back, Return. Mandalorian is after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing that I've been very I don't know what the word is, but basically I've been very careful about speculating too far about is if we're not going to get another season of Rebels before season 2 of Mandalorian, how are we going to explain Ahsoka showing up in this time jump?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So is Mandalorian supposed to explain that for us, and then we're just not going to get any more Rebels?
Well, if Mandalorian explains that, we aren't going to learn much because Mandalorian doesn't really explain backstory all that well.
So
they really don't. So if they're the ones to do it.
Hold on there, Darth. You're going to have to repeat that because we got a little quack in the audio there, so I lost you.
Oh, did it cut out?
Yeah, that's the quarantine technology thing that we're doing. We've been going really good. So, hey, instead of me editing anything, how about you just re-explain yourself?
Sure. What was I saying again? So basically, if this is what we get for an explanation of why Ahsoka's here now, I think we're going to be disappointed. I really do, because Mandalorian has never been great with explaining its own backstory for its characters. We didn't really get a whole lot on the Mandalorian. We have nothing on Baby Yoda. And you could also say that that's all for building up anticipation for the next season and learning more, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know anything about any of these characters, really. We know just enough to care about them.
Sure.
And then you throw a character that is beloved, has been beloved for coming close to it. And we're on a decade now, I would say. And I'm worried about how they're going to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
I really am.
Well, and then the other major question becomes what happened to Ezra?
Yeah.
So if Ahsoka just mysteriously shows up in Mandalorian, what happened to Ezra? And again, you're going to have this giant hole. I don't know. And that's a Star Wars thing, though, right? They're not very good at keeping a chronological order of events. So I guess that could be to, Ahsoka's just like, oh, yeah, so what happened to you? Oh, it's a long story, guys. And then you get Rebels, season, 5, to fill in the blanks. I don't personally, care a ton, but I would prefer, again, to get Rebels to explain what happened before I just have, you dump a character into another series where I think, depending on how it's used, could really overshadow things.
Yeah.
I mean, just let the Mandalorian be the Mandalorian. Just let him do his thing, and let's figure out Baby Yoda and not have to contend with another big name character coming in and potentially just stealing everything from it. I think you can do that. I don't see the reason why we can't let the Mandalorian be the lead of the Mandalorian.
Yeah. And another thing, with the tie-ins that we're getting, yes, we know that she interacts with, Maul, and Maul has a lot of ties to Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, what significance is there for her interacting with our Mandalorian?
Well, that's why you need the next season of Rebels. I mean, that's in my opinion, that's why you need that, because first they have to find him and and bring him back and figure that out. And then if you want to put him in other media, go ahead. But you're kind of just, it feels like you're just stretching something to its absolute breaking point. And then hey, what happens if we don't get the next season of Rebels for, I mean, as long as a timeline as we had to get this last season of Clone Wars?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What winds up being priority?
That was quite a while ago,
Mm-hmm.
And what if it just doesn't happen? Are we going to be satisfied with what we learn from Mandalorian? Is it standalone at all?
Yeah.
Can we just appreciate it for what it is? Or does it have to have a tie-in? Because if it has to have a tie-in, it's not a very good story.
I mean, unfortunately, though, that is a lot of Star Wars, though. It's kind of the universe is meant to be, and everything has some sort of tie-in to it. And that's not always maybe what we have to do, but that is kind of what it winds up being.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, heck, old Ahsoka just probably could show up in Resistance, even though that's over. But, hey, let's do another season of Resistance, and Ahsoka comes back.
Please no.
I still have never watched.
Me want to throw up.
I've still never watched Resistance. I should, but I never have. It didn't.
The animation style just makes me want to throw up. It's so bad.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the story's good. I don't know, but the animation really turned me off. So
it's certainly more childish than
than
Clone Wars and Rebels. So it was difficult for me. I only watched maybe half an episode.
Yeah,
and it just couldn't grab me. And it was during a space battle of all things. So if that can't get my attention, you've lost me.
Yeah, and I think maybe I saw a snippet somewhere. I don't know. I remember seeing a snippet somewhere. And I was like, "Ooh, this doesn't look very attractive." But yeah, I don't know. And I think we all have to sort of start asking the question, what is truly the direction here now? From a Disney standpoint, are we trying to bank too much on well-known, well-liked characters in order to buoy the franchise into the future? Because they're not done. I mean, they're not done making shows and movies and stuff. And even the Obi-Wan series, I mean, there was news coming out that they have a new writer or something. I think it was a new writer. So
really?
It appears to be some of the strife in that might have been true. So I don't know, man. I mean, I wonder how much Disney is committing to these, and I wonder how much of this cartoon series is literally just the will of Dave Filoni being like, yeah, guys, we have to do this. I mean, seriously.
I just want to.
I mean, it's like we have to do it. But why, Dave? Why do we have to? Because we just have to. I mean, what's your problem? But again, I think if we see Ahsoka in Mandalorian, which I'm sorry, I don't think that's ever officially like Disney or Lucasfilms has specifically said, yes, Ahsoka is in here. Have we ever seen like a pure confirmation of that?
Not even a tweet.
I mean, there's been a lot of very reputable sites that have been talking about it, but I don't know that it's ever been directly confirmed. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think you have to sort of explain how she gets there before she gets there. And going backwards just sort of would make me worry about not having another season of Rebels, which is what I want. Because out of all the animated series, that was the one that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. But, if they just blindly go into this, it does damage the opportunity for any other characters to get live action. Again, like I said, I don't personally want live action, but a lot of people do. So, I mean, there's a lot of interesting characters between Rebels and Clone Wars that I could see deserving a little more spotlight. I don't know about you. I would like to see something with Asajj Ventress. I think she would, transition well to live action.
Maybe. I
Or
mean,
you have a couple in Rebels that you would like to see.
well, the only problem with Ventress is I think her story's really been written already. So I think
It has.
anything live action would just be a rehash, and I don't know how popular that would be. I mean, even with Rebels, I don't know what. I mean, we're gonna see like Kanan growing up or something like that, and first meeting Hera, or a Sabine spinoff or something. I'm not saying that wouldn't be cool. I'm just saying, how much interest would that have for the wide audience? Because again, like Star Wars fans can hoot and holler all they want, but if the general public isn't necessarily, the casual fan that, sold this last franchise, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, how do you market that to them? How do you get their buy-in? Because again, the whole idea is to continue to have people re-up Disney Plus.
How do you really sell Ahsoka to them at Mandalorian, though?
Well,
I mean,
I don't know.
I would argue right now maybe a lot of people are discovering Clone Wars because of boredom, but a lot of people that watch Mandalorian weren't even really big Star Wars fans, so do they even know who Ahsoka is?
You're right, and there were a lot of folks who latched on to Mandalorian just because they thought it looked cool and it was sort of westerny, and Jon Favreau was involved, and you had a lot of people that were canceling Disney Plus afterwards. So here's the end all, and then we can kind of move on if you want. But the end all is me and you, we have Disney Plus for a year, right? I mean, so there are a lot of people who did the advance year. I know that there were some 3-year packages, but the question for Disney is all those year folks, what's going to keep these year folks in? And how are we going to make them buy another year? Because that price is going to go up. It won't be whatever $60, $70 we paid. It's probably going to be over $100.
I would say it's probably going to be in line with probably Amazon Prime.
Yes.
So around 120 is what I would expect.
Yeah.
And another thing, you have this massive influx when it released because you have the Disney Vault, you have all the Marvel movies.
Yep.
You have all these things that people will have time to go through and enjoy and get that nostalgia hit. What about when that wears off?
Yep.
What do we have then? We have our odd random Disney movie release. I mean, the only one that I've noticed lately is they added Frozen 2 lately. But other than that, how often are we getting a new Disney movie?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess there's speculation that they might also drop Black Widow and Mulan. I think both of those directly on Disney Plus. But yeah,
really?
You're right. I mean, that's the issue, is that they're not really creating a bunch of new shows like Netflix, and they're also not going after things that aren't Disney property already. It's a Disney vault. It's not Netflix where they negotiate contracts to get all these other movies and other TV shows to give you this vast variety, which is why Netflix will always win. And that's no offense to Disney, but that's why they will always win, because they have this variety that Disney cannot do, because they're only focused on Disney products. And in order to
unfortunately, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, in order to compete, you're going to have a massive amount of shows consistently coming out. And I don't think that they have the budget for it right now. I just don't.
No. Yeah, and unfortunately, what Disney would have to do to compete, to at least have the volume of content, is instead of having new shows, new series coming out, they would basically have to buy the licensing rights to other shows. Like, obviously we have things like the X-Men there. So, okay, we buy up Ninja Turtles. We buy up all these other things that tie into that, so we can have a bunch of old stuff and put in like 150 episodes, but it's old.
Yep.
And this generation isn't going to be entertained by what we were entertained by.
Yeah, exactly.
You sit a kid down now and play the old X-Men series, bores them to tears. Yeah, I can sit down and enjoy it more than a kid still.
Yeah.
I mean, they can do so much, but they can only do so much, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you're right. So I think it's a tough nut to crack. I think that this is something that, should stay low price. And I think it's something that maybe they don't need to focus on new shows, but just allow everybody to have the vault and have these long-term sort of contracty type deals there so that people can just have it, pay for it one time and not worry about it. And then you have them locked for 3 years or whatever. But don't try and compete with Netflix because even despite the fact that there have been reports on Netflix is blah, 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 losing money. They're still the biggest game in town. Amazon Prime, Amazon Video has some good stuff, but they're not the same. There's no other service that does it like they do. Hulu is again, it's not the same. Hulu's probably, I think, the closest, but Hulu also offers live TV too. So there's that. But anyway, maybe you want to move on to the show now.
30 minutes in.
Yeah, we've yacked a half hour about anything but the show. So let's go ahead and chat a little bit about episode 8 together again. The continuance of the Martez sisters and Ahsoka's little adventure here, the Spice Runners, who aren't really Spice Runners.
The runners of spice.
Yes. So they're back in prison. Prison again.
For the 5th time.
Yeah. Several times they've been. And
they've already got a couple of teardrop
teardrop tattoos. Oh God. They've made the toothbrush shiv already. Yeah. Graduated up to that. What do you remember Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood?
Vaguely.
That's one of my favorite.
I don't really remember much about it.
It's one of my favorite movies, but it's technically sort of like based on a real story where Eastwood's character, I think his name was Frank Morris, and these 2 other guys escape from Alcatraz. Now, more than likely, they probably died actually escaping in the water. But they showed a bunch of like little prison-y hack things. Like he stole his first day, he stole a pair of nail clippers, and then he fused the nail clipper end onto a spoon end to have a little diggy thing. And like he was showing him how he fused it together in his prison cell. That's not Star Wars related, but we did say make a shiv, so it instantly made me think of an old movie. So sorry guys, sorry. If you want to know how to fuse 2 pieces of metal in a prison cell to escape, watch Escape from Alcatraz. It's a good movie. So anyway, more arguments between Ahsoka and Ravi, and just having this whole argument again. It's like it's a rehash. We've had this again and again and again. Like, get over it, please. They're then brought before the Pikes, which I don't know about you, but like they were ready to kill them all in the streets.
Yeah.
But now they're like trying to reason things out, and Ahsoka does the the quote turncoat thing here, and he's like, well, hey, just send them out. They'll get the spice. I'll stay here. I don't care. I just want to get out of here and get paid and all this stuff. And, gives the code words, trust me type of deal.
Yes. Which completely goes over Trace's head.
Yeah. I found that interesting. She genuinely seemed kind of hurt about the whole thing, but she is able to get the sisters back into their ship and off. So her plan is to allow them to get out and her to escape. Now, the Pikes also kind of know there's something fishy going on here, but it's like, we don't really have a choice, is essentially their reasoning. And let's see here. So we can continue on a little bit with Chase and Rafi there. But I assume. What do you think? Maybe they're back on Coruscant. I don't know where they're.
I would say so.
Okay.
It looked like Coruscant.
Okay.
But
well, and this is the part where like you said, Trace is like all mad about. So it's like she knows we don't have a family. It's like, well, duh, she let us escape. It's like you didn't hear like trust me and all this stuff. And we kind of have Ravi with a little bit of a heart here saying, I'm not gonna let her one up me. I'm gonna, make it so she doesn't have to escape. And then they come up with a plan to essentially steal more spice to make this haul.
Yes. Steal spice from the people you're returning spice to.
Yeah.
Which is just amazing.
Yeah, it was interesting to say the least. Then we get back with Ahsoka, uses her force powers to get out of the cell again. And she's kind of scampering around the base, doing Ahsoka things. When she hears the Pikes talking with somebody with from the dark side that you're probably well acquainted with, good buddies, right?
Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and say this. They literally could have just spliced this scene from Phantom Menace because they totally copied it. So many times with Maul. Oh, my God.
Yep. Darth Maul once again. Obviously, we know that this is kind of around the whole, Crimson Dawn and him kind of controlling all these little syndicates.
What's Collective is the name of all of them together, correct? They mentioned the name of the entire group between the Pikes, the Crimson Dawn, all of them. What Maul unified? Collective?
I just always thought it was Crimson Dawn. I mean, if I missed that, I missed it. I'm not sure.
Ah, gotcha. But yeah, basically they did talk about that. Like he always pits us against each other.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, that's a good way to keep us in line.
Right.
And vying for his attention, trying to work harder.
And, the Pike's little lieutenant there, I guess he's his lieutenant or something. I don't know. Kind of like it's like, why are we letting this guy push us around? It's like, we don't have to be at his beck and call. It's like, would you like to tell him that?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to tell him?
Quiet then.
Yeah, exactly. So at this point, the Pikes do discover that Ahsoka had, flown the coop again. They really got to start questioning their jail cells.
Yeah. I mean, you think after the third time, they're like, I don't think this is glitching.
Apparently not. Apparently they're not getting it. So.
and again, jail cell or not, why aren't they bound in any way? They've already escaped.
You would think.
Something.
Well, Ahsoka does wind up, kind of going to one of the control rooms, confronted by the Pikes. She does display her little force push there, fights off a few of them, but she's sort of outnumbered at this point. She doesn't have any weapons. And, like, oh, a Jedi, sent here to infiltrate us. And, she's again taken prisoner and stunned. So then we turn our attention to the Martez sisters as they try and steal spice here, try and bully these dock workers, which of course doesn't end well, due to the, where's your manager? She kind of does have a short haircut, so she could be a Karen at this point. I want to see your manager. Where's the manager?
And of course, we get to see the manager, and I don't know what any of these species are, but he's formidable, at least for them.
Well, I was just kind of, I was trying to think about, I forget so many of the species, but he's one of Bosk's.
Yeah.
Species. They're not Rhodian. Oh, Trandoshans. So he's a Trandoshan.
Oh, there you go.
And
as far as the dock workers, I don't know what they are, but I never want to see them again.
I don't remember. They were kind of squirrely.
God awful design.
Nah, they were fine. Come on, man. You didn't like those guys? Little dudes?
Have you ever
heads,
seen those
little bodies?
Have you ever seen those YouTube videos where they like raise the facial expressions on characters like 500% on certain video games?
Yeah.
That's what those creatures remind me of.
Jeez.
Only it's about 1,000%.
Yeah, true. Well, fight ensues, which they're able to escape because obviously they're, trained assassins and so forth, and they can fight off anything, which is always fun.
No, they're essentials. They just activated all the cheat codes.
Yes. They put on the hit stick, put in the back forward move, and just, tore off out of there. It's
infinite ammo.
Infinite ammo, bro. Yeah, right, exactly.
No guns, but infinite ammo.
Well, anyway, the sisters do report back to the Pikes. And at this point, it's revealed to the sisters that Ahsoka is a Jedi.
Yes, and there's literally no point in doing the spice at this point because it's never mentioned again.
Right. Yeah. And from the Pike's standpoint, they feel like Ahsoka is a Jedi tied to the Republic, and she's a spy. And excuse me, it's getting late in the day for me, I guess. Yeah, you're over there yawning too, man.
Don't yawn. It's contagious.
I was trying to fight back one there a little while ago. Just couldn't let that one go. Even I had a cup of coffee, which of course doesn't do anything for me, but just to try and do
psychologically, though.
Yeah, I guess. Oh man! All right, let's continue on. So reveals that she's a Jedi. The Pikes again. They're thinking that no, this is the Republic working against us because clearly a Jedi has to be working for the Republic. And we kind of do see sort of the betrayal, I guess, on the sisters' faces, and sort of what Ahsoka thought exactly what would happen. And they kind of have a little bit of a start the little debate here, which obviously this really isn't a good time for this, and it's like, we're probably going to get tortured here again, guys. And maybe we can talk about this afterwards, maybe.
Yeah.
But they are kind of saved, I guess, by some well-placed explosive charges. And those could come from none other than, somebody we've never met, clearly.
Yeah, sure.
The energy is so high right now. It's, the funny thing is...
This is just... this is where the episode just kind of loses me a little bit.
Does it? It's only about 9:00. It's not like I'm going to bed anytime soon, but yeah, obviously,
but you're not moving.
Yeah,
that's the problem. You're not moving.
True. So obviously, kind of our Mandalorians that we had seen beforehand, looks like they are indeed helping in the escape attempt here, which sisters and Ahsoka are able to get back to the ship. Now that Ahsoka's a Jedi, she can kind of employ the Force a little bit more to help them escape. Mans the gun, shoots some ships down, blah blah blah. And when they arrive back on Coruscant, it's the confrontation.
Yes, the 2 minutes of I can't believe this. Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah, exactly. It was like very, very over and done with very quickly. It's like, we don't care. You're what a Jedi should be. We clearly know, that you would never harm us and blah, blah, blah. And,
really, Rafa? And... This is what you think a Jedi should be? Then why were you giving her so much crap for 4 episodes?
Well, she did give her credit before they attempted their rescue attempt. And kind of said, people like that are rare, after Ahsoka essentially sort of like did the self-sacrifice move. And so I think giving her credit there, but obviously, it's kind of like giving her more credit now. I think the main thing was that she didn't trust the two of them to understand any of this beforehand, which, I mean, honestly, clearly they wouldn't have. Maybe Trace would have, but Rafa wouldn't. Right?
I don't think so, honestly. I think that's one thing that Trace would just not accept.
Maybe so. So then we move into the endings of the episode where the Mandalorians do, confront Ahsoka here, and we find that it is Bo-Katan, who in our initial talks before the episode, I kept calling Satine. Satine, you remember her. She's clearly alive still, in love with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I think he said specifically, "Oh, it's great that they brought her back, like from the dead." What are you talking about?
She was clearly never. She clearly didn't die in Obi-Wan's arms. She was clearly never stabbed by Darth Maul. Yeah, it didn't happen like that, right? Yeah, I had the names completely flipped. So I'm glad I made that mistake before we started the episode. And of course, I just explained it so you all know what happened. But
it's better than actually doing it on air.
Yeah. So
I'm being tired.
Yeah. And Ahsoka, kind of recoils a bit here. Obviously, this is Death Watch. It's like, well, Death Watch isn't, is no more, and kind of need your help. So come on, you got 5 minutes. So Ahsoka basically is going with them, but she does say to the sisters, like, yeah, I'll just leave my crappy bike here. Maybe I'll be back.
Yeah. What would have been awesome if Trace would have just been like, no, you're not. Either take it or we're dumping it into the streets.
Wow. The betrayal is real. Well, I think it's pretty clear that the Ahsoka arc is not over. I feel like it's very clear that, we're going to have continued episodes with her and we're going to start, going into the Mandalorian side of things now and maybe seeing a little bit more of the hold that we already know Darth Maul sort of had, sort of the havoc that was placed there.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking? What are you thinking about the episode? What are you thinking about what we might have next?
There were some inconsistencies in the episode based on the last 3 that we had. Again, with the Martez sisters just so quickly accepting Ahsoka again. That was kind of weird. The reveals for Bo-Katan and Maul weren't all that thrilling, in my opinion. They were kind of paint by numbers style, but I mean, it's Maul. You kind of have to reveal them that way now every time, ever since Solo. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an overall decent episode. I just basically put it right above the Bad Batch episodes if I had to rank.
Okay.
Definitely not my favorite, but not terrible.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think we kind of hashed this out in our last episode with Dangerous Debt, where did we really have to have more prison Pike stuff? I mean, could we have maybe wrapped this up a little bit in that episode? Could we have moved on to something else in this new episode here? Maybe.
Could we have had a 4th story instead of having 4 episodes for each arc? I mean,
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, maybe we're being a little too critical. It's just to me to have a throwaway episode, a filler, when there's so few episodes to begin with, for something so highly anticipated. It's frustrating.
Well, I mean, to bring in what we were talking.
It's selfish to say that too. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you have high expectations for sure.
Well, what we were talking about before the episode, I think it still rings true, where this last season feels like just putting a couple of puzzle pieces in a puzzle that you're already pretty clear on. And this is just the final like two middle pieces that you just haven't put in yet. You know, you've got all the corners, you got the structure, you've pretty much solved the picture, but you're just putting, you know, these other little pieces in just to, oh, okay, well, I guess I have to complete it now before you put it back in the box. And it seems like a lot of buildup for kind of a lot of non-starting stuff. I mean, and this is kind of what worries me and why we had our discussion at the beginning of the show concerning Ahsoka being in Mandalorian and not having the conclusion of Rebels, or what we all feel should be the true conclusion of Rebels, is that, my God, are we going to have to wait years for the conclusion of Rebels? And is it going to just be this, you know, puzzle pieces putting into order of a picture we've already seen? Or are we going to finally get something that actually has a revelation? We're all just looking for new content to talk about, to speculate about. There was so much that Clone Wars filled in the pieces of in between, you know, two movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, there was so much lore building between those movies. There was so much, you know, that they explained the relationship with Obi-Wan and Anakin and all the things that we questioned going into episode 3.
Right.
You know, pretty much all those questions were answered.
Mm-hmm.
And we've almost become spoiled by how well they did episode 2 and Clone Wars.
Yeah.
They were very thorough. You know, I wouldn't say it's my favorite timeline in Star Wars, but it's clearly a popular one, and they definitely fleshed it out very well. So
yeah,
we're going to have to accept that we're not going to get that through this crossover into Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like Clone Wars.
Right.
It just won't be.
But yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like, I mean, did we have to have this season? I mean, did we have to do it? And it all sort of points back to, it just should have been done years ago. It should have already been done. We in this year we're in now, I think we shouldn't. I mean, this should have already been done. Done in the books, shut down.
So, I mean, look, if you had to wait 7 years for, you know, the last season of Game of Thrones, you had to wait that long, you probably wouldn't care as much by the time you watch it, right?
Well, if it was better than what we got in season 8.
That's not what we're talking about. Don't be a baby.
Oh, Game of Thrones. But yeah, we still might be surprised. We still might be surprised at what we have here with the rest of the season, and I think you know, we should try and stay as cautiously optimistic as humanly possible. But you know, I think the Martez sisters line is coming to an end here, and we're moving, you know, into something else, and it obviously is all very Ahsoka centric. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna ask this here, and then I think we'll wrap up. Is the point of Clone Wars? Maybe I should ask a broader question. Maybe, what is the meaning of Clone Wars? Is it the clones? Is it Ahsoka? Is it droids? Or is it Anakin? And I think that in the very early side of things, it was very much Anakin. Now I think we've switched it to be Ahsoka. And I think at some of our early speculation for this last season, we were kind of thinking about seeing more of the dive of Anakin, not the continuation of Ahsoka. Now, not that I'm saying it's bad, I'm just saying that I guess maybe we should all sort of look and say, so what is the point of Clone Wars? For me, I always thought that it was that divide into how Anakin truly went to the dark side. But now it seems like we're more maneuvering more into, okay, yeah, but let's also explore more Maul, more Ahsoka. It's like they thought focusing on Anakin, the descent of the Jedi, Obi-Wan, and maybe that just wasn't enough for anybody anymore.
Oh no, I mean, to me, I always looked at Clone Wars as a good precursor to Order 66, which, I mean, sounds like a generic answer, but you get a lot more fleshed out relationships with the Jedi. You get to see what they're doing up until their fall.
Yeah.
You get to see their mistakes and shortcomings. You get to see their passions. There's quite a few Jedi, obviously. Like we get to see more of Kiani Mundi and Aayla Secura and all the things that they did.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the Order 66 scene much more significant.
Yeah,
I think in that respect. It also, like you said, definitely the descent of Anakin, which we have gotten quite a bit of already.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't really feel like we need a lot more of that. I mean, he's already had his visions of what he'll become. He's already killed people he didn't have to kill. He's already disobeyed orders a million times. He's falling, and we see that already, even at the first episode of the season.
Well, but what I'm saying is, like, everything was so macro, and now we're dealing with such a microcosm here. Just the Bad Batch, now just Ahsoka. When the entire series was always so more macro in the war, and what's happening with Dooku, and what's happening with the Sith, and what's happening with the Jedi, and what's happening with the broader scheme of things. And now I feel like we've gone so very micro with stuff. It feels constricted, and it doesn't necessarily feel as connected to me with the rest of the series.
I get that. One way I try and look at it, and this doesn't apply to the Bad Batch at all because I have no history with them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no attachment, so it doesn't. I don't know. It falls short for me, and it does for you as well. I know we've talked about this quite a bit, so I won't rehash it. But as far as with diving into the micro side of Ahsoka, we see her through these first 6 seasons just, getting work done, trying to learn a little bit, but focusing on the big picture, willing to make sacrifices and, be a team player so we can get that broader scope of everything else that's going on, so we can win this battle, even though it doesn't seem all that significant at the time.
Yeah.
But so for me, I kind of appreciate that we get to dive more into her psyche, her personality, what she's going through personally since she's left the Order. I do appreciate that. The vehicle with which they are telling that story, I feel like, I don't know. The way they're doing this character arc doesn't interest me as much.
There's an Ahsoka book.
It did at first. Yeah.
I mean, there's an Ahsoka book. I know it's a book, but I already have that. I guess for me, I think I just had different hopes for this series. Maybe actually like getting more of the actual Order 66, maybe seeing Rex and Ahsoka part company, which was, I mean, it was alluded to in the book, but it wasn't specifically there. So that, I guess, I don't know. I guess maybe I just had grander aspirations for the final season of a show that did so much groundbreaking for a lot of things.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to tell if maybe we're expecting too much different from this season,
right?
Or if just the last second maybe they'll swoop in and tie everything together and it will all make sense.
Yeah,
I find it really hard to believe they could. Not saying that as a cop out to say, oh, everything will be fine. I'm generally not the most optimistic person when it comes to new directions with Star Wars.
Yeah.
So what they're doing with this, I don't see the big picture yet. Maybe by the time we hit Mandalorian, I will. And maybe by then I'll appreciate this. I'll go back, rewatch it, and really enjoy it more. I don't know.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. Just a thought.
We have something to look forward to with a new story arc, though, next week. So, I think we're all getting a little tired of prison. So, hopefully it'll be something different.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I don't know. I think we've beaten that dead horse down a bit. So, I guess we can go ahead and look at wrapping her up. For all of you out there who would like to interact with the show, you can always find us on Facebook. Send us an email, just tcplanpodcast@gmail.com, or go follow us on Twitter at tcplanpodcast. Let us know your Star Wars story. Let us know what you think about the series, the movies, anything and everything, any topics that you think, we should cover. And, in future episodes, we'll definitely do that. If you're listening on your podcasting app, make sure to leave us a review. Give out those 5 stars, baby. Tell us how much you love us.
Make multiple accounts. Give us all the 5-star reviews.
Yes, I need bots. Make bots to make us bigger.
That's right. If there are any programmers listening, if you could take care of that for us.
If you can help us
free,
cheat.
We'd really appreciate that.
If you can help us cheat our download count. No, don't do that. That'd be bad. But yeah, that's a good way to interact with the show. Any negative feedback, just leave that on YouTube.
And we'll get right to it.
Yeah, we'll put it in the suggestion box. But anyway, folks,
we will read it during the episode.
Yeah,
put you on blast.
Maybe. But anyway, folks, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week.
Yep. Happy Easter to those who celebrate. And as always, may the Force be with you.